So when it comes to increasing literacy for people, both adults and youngsters, who have vision loss, there are several ways in which you can go about it. Looking at the fact that we are now born, people these days are now born into a technological society, more than likely they'll end up seeing a computer, considerably younger than I did. I worked with I remember using Windows 3.1 with a 486 IBM Tower, but nothing like today. Back then, all we could do was play simple games. Typing Tutor comes to mind. Let's see. Some Olympic game, and also some fun games, a Math Blaster, Commander Keen, and the old Tom and Jerry, and even the Blues Brothers. That was 22 years ago or something. So these days, the kids are being born into the world of the internet, and more than likely that's where they'll end up doing a lot of their reading and end up using the internet as a supplement to their classroom instruction. To that end, for students with vision loss, you've got software that magnifies the screen and enhances the screen, like ZoomText or Magic. In my personal view, I'm going to zoom in here, this tab here that says Reader, well, what that allows me to do is to get various enhancements. I could get, I could turn this up to 6x magnification. I could alter the pointer. I could alter the colors. I could alter any focus items, anything that might blend in. And at the same time, with the press of one key or the click of a mouse, depending on how I set it up, I can get electronic speech to read to me, which is nice to give my eyes a break after several hours of working. And also, keep in mind that I'm coming from ZoomText on the Macintosh. Now I'm going to be getting pretty soon when I go to work ZoomText for Windows, but I know ZoomText for Macintosh has a web reader that allows you to take contents of a web page, remove all extraneous data, and have things read back to you. I can't remember what the Windows ZoomText equivalent is, if that's also a web reader or if that's something slightly different. But the idea is text enhancements along with speech, which really helps to enhance the reading experience, not just for people with vision loss, but for people with dyslexia, for instance, with other reading disabilities, by having a multimodal approach. This really, for instance, somebody could use ZoomText without magnification, but they could turn on cursor enhancement and color enhancement to help things stand out better among a sea of, stuff. So there's definitely cause for great celebration in the types of software that are available, as well as hardware. Hardware, in this case, we're looking at a DaVinci HD video magnifier. The really nice thing about a system like this is, rather than having to worry about enlarging the book, which you can see she's got a regular print book here in the photo. Enlarged print books are about 25% bigger and considerably heavier because they're printed on thicker paper. And also any color, like for maps, for instance. When I was in high school, we didn't have, well, we did, but I didn't take full advantage because I only needed it for certain things. Thinking back, I probably should have used it more. But I didn't use this technology near as much as I do today, because again, I didn't really think about the enhancements it could bring. But I digress. Anyway, so I was using these large print textbooks. The problem is, if you have light colors, say light blue and sort of a blue-green, to differentiate between one country and another, or in a graph if you're looking at certain aspects of a population that are you know, in higher in worse poverty conditions than other parts of the country. If you have colors that blend in the color book, well, in the enlarged book, which is always done in black and white to save money and ink and time, those two colors could blend in very, very easily. They could end up being gray on gray. As a result, rather than enlarging the text, having something like this device that allows you to enhance the text, but at the same time push a button and have regular print, it would still be enlarged, but you would have things like diagrams, maps, pie charts, things that are meant to be seen the way everybody else sees them. And again, it's all to help promote, you know, the way I see it is that it helps to promote literacy and understanding of the materials. There's also a portable device that a lot of people with vision loss can use. Now, the problem with utilizing this for long-term reading versus this is, if we take a look here, you see the lady in the photo is sitting up straight, perfect posture, nice and comfortable. If you try to do that with this device, there's really no way to do it because of the way the screen is designed. Excuse me. There's no way really that you cannot lean over. Okay, there's no way you cannot lean over to utilize something like this. And also with the smaller screen, you see the high level of magnification this person has to have it on to see what's in this, what looks to be a dictionary, I think, or an encyclopedia. So you have the much narrower field of view, smaller screen. So if you're trying to do something, like if you're looking up a word in a dictionary, it's fine. But if you're trying to do something like read a novel like this person's doing, then utilizing a smaller device like a portable might not be the best for extended periods. And when I say extended, I mean hour, 2 hours. Unfortunately, the average amount of time a student has to do homework these days. Oh, and a side note, for anybody that's curious, if you're wondering how I arrived at the dictionary conclusion, if you take a look here at these gray little bars, they stand out on the white page on the side. Well, I just so happen to have a dictionary here at home that's pretty much exactly like that, where each bar denotes a letter of the alphabet, like A, B, and C, and so forth. So that's how I was able to tell by the colors that stick out. Not necessarily because, you know, I can't tell what the text says on the page at all. So there's no way I'd be able to read it without something like this. But but I'd be able to tell it as a dictionary or encyclopedia because of the way the coloring, the way the colored bars are arranged. It looks like it'd be in alphabetical order. Now, more often than not, people with vision loss are older, and they do have some residual vision, and others end up going completely blind, in the sense where they have no usable vision at all. Maybe they'll have light perception, you know, and a lot of people, like I said, a lot of people in this situation are older. And a lot of times, you know, a lot of times with older population, they may have stigmatism about learning Braille. If you have a computer, that's where a device like this would come in handy. This is something called the Focus 40 Blue. It is a refreshable Braille display that has a built-in learning mode if you pair it with the JAWS screen access software that can teach people Braille, young and old. They've also got devices like the Perkins Smart Brailler that helps people to learn Braille. And, you know, a lot of people are making the argument, why do you need to learn Braille? Braille is obsolete. This device in front of me shows that Braille is not obsolete, number one. Number two, think about it like this. If you take away a person's access to Braille, that is like me taking this computer screen on this Chromebook and ripping it off. Okay? It's like turning off your computer monitor and unplugging it. How will you see what's on screen? A lot of people will probably think utilize speech output. Well, we have words in the English language that are called homophones. In other words, THERE and THEIR. These words spelled differently but sound the same. So THERE and THEIR. Now, how would speech be able to tell you the difference? It wouldn't unless you're really, really good at navigating through speech and you don't get lost easily. But even then, utilizing an electronic Braille device like this, for instance, if I wanted to put my cursor, I'll show you. So I'll put my cursor, let's say this 2 is meant to be a 1 for sake of argument. So I'll go ahead and put my cursor right there in between the 1 and the 2. If you're using speech, you have to manually navigate and you have to kind of guess where the cursor is and learn your way around. Whereas with this, if you had the same URL web address on display here on the 40-character display, I could push a button. And that button would route the cursor, which is denoted by these 2 dots here on the bottom, to that particular character for editing, removal, entry of more characters. It's just much, much more fluid, and it's quieter. Think about it like this. If you're in a college environment and you're attending a lecture, or if you're in a business meeting and you need to listen to what your boss is saying, if you're wearing headphones to listen to your speech, then you're not able to hear what the boss is saying. If you unplug your headphones, then everybody else in the room hears what it's saying and gets distracted. So, refreshable Braille has many, many benefits, and unfortunately, the technology is not cheap. The video magnifiers that I showed you can range from a couple hundred, about $500, to roughly $3,000 or $4,000. Something like this Braille display. Now they do have smaller and bigger sizes, but if you're doing a lot of reading and you're not going to be using it for travel all the time, because if you want to use it for travel all the time, then maybe something a little smaller, like a 12-cell or 14-cell display that you could wear around your neck easily might be a little bit better if you want to use it with your iPhone to take in small amounts of text. But if you want to read, and I do mean really read, like a full chapter of a textbook, take down notes, research, academic research, then something like a 40-cell display may be better suited to your needs. Now, this particular display here runs, I was talking a second ago about cost, about $4,000 to $5,000. Now, here's the way I see it. Awareness of the abilities of people with exceptionalities is growing. Myself, and I've got friends who are out there every day pushing the boundaries of what people with disabilities, with exceptionalities can do. And yet at the same time, there are still people that are like, oh, if I can hire so-and-so who is sighted, then I'd prefer to do that because they're cheaper. In instances, there have been instances where in some cases, somebody who uses a Braille display, if they are proficient enough, may actually be even more efficient than somebody who is sighted. And where does all this begin? It begins with the ability to read, and that is where technology like Zoom Text, like the DaVinci, like this handheld video magnifier, and especially this Braille display for people who have no usable vision, to the point where like they may have usable vision, but perhaps reading print is too much for them. By equipping people with this technology, they can stand on equal footing with their sighted peers. Now, in terms of Braille, a lot of people may think, well, if this is $4,000 or $5,000, why not just print out a hard copy Braille text and go that route, like for a procedures manual or for a restaurant menu? And a lot of restaurant menus are hard copy Braille. There are a couple of problems that I've seen with them. Number one, depending on the quality of the paper and how long they've been in storage, the Braille itself might be degrading over time, which is to say that it's not easily discernible. Also, take a look at this book. This is the Braille copy of the exact same book that's here in print. Take a look at the print book. Now take a look at the Braille book. The Braille book is about as big as a phone book for probably several countries. And it's extremely, for something that bulky, it's very expensive to produce and very time consuming. Whereas if a student is able to go online, if the professor or the teacher in their school has this text available online, or if perhaps you're taking your entire school online, and your instructor says, oh, here's your text, then rather than having to worry about printing out hard copy Braille, a person with a Braille display or screen magnification software is able to effectively go online and look at the exact same material as their sighted peers. As a result, they are on equal footing, and in some ways may even be more efficient. How? Well, because of their exceptionality, they've had to come up with creative ways to get things done, ways that a person who's fully sighted may not even consider. So technology like this to improve literacy is of an extreme necessity, especially in the 21st century, where all jobs are going to be, or a lot of them are going to have some basis in technology. Whether that be, let's say, for instance, you're doing manual labor, but at the same time you're using a spreadsheet to document your inventory of supplies that you use on the floor where you work. Well, again, this Braille technology is an absolute must. The screen enlarging technology is an absolute must. And the way I see it is this technology is expensive, especially the Braille displays, because there are more people out there who do have some usable vision and would most likely use screen magnification, like myself, and perhaps with speech supplement, than there are people who are entirely blind. And when I say entirely, I mean zilch, zero, nada, not even light. Those people are in an extreme minority, and people who are deafblind, who would be forced to use this Braille display because they can't even hear the speech, are an even smaller minority. But just because they have a physical exceptionality does not mean that they cannot be productive in school, in social environments, and in the workplace. And I think that if we continue to reach out to more and more people, if more and more people become aware, because a lot of people out there, like at Google I/O, last year, I think, Google I/O last year, or maybe the year before, was the very first time that I've ever seen a mainstream technology conference highlight the abilities of a piece of hardware like a Braille display within Android. This sort of thing, I think, needs to be expanded because a lot of people out there who have been sighted all their life and may not know somebody who has an exceptionality and or have never experienced it firsthand are going to be like, well, if I can't see, then I can't work. That is completely untrue. There is technology out there to help you. My hope, personally, is we could get it to the point where if more and more people are aware of it, then perhaps we could get more and more mainstream technology companies to invest in the development of this specialized hardware. Now, of course, the special companies, Freedom Scientific in this case, in this example, would be building the hardware. But what I'm saying is, if more corporations were to share the burden of the development cost and maybe incorporate that cost back into their own enterprise, do you see what I'm getting at? It would help drive down the development and thus costs and thus bring the savings on to the consumer. We could be, if that were to happen, we could end up with a day where instead of a $5,000 Braille display, we could have a $500 Braille display. Instead of a $1,000 12-cell display, we could have a $100 12-cell display. And you could go on Amazon and you could get it that way with Amazon Prime shipping. Do you see what I'm getting at? If this technology is make it or break it for people with vision loss, whether be it partial sight with software and hardware, or no sight, or no usable sight to the effect of being able to read print and thus needing to use Braille, or perhaps using Braille as a supplement. If you have an eye condition where your eyes get tired easily, say after 4 hours of computer work, but you got to stay on the job for 4 more hours, you could switch over to refreshable Braille. If more companies became aware of this, I think that we could see a renaissance in in accepting people, in helping people to succeed. If, just think of a day where you could buy your Braille display from Freedom Scientific or Amazon, but you're thinking, oh my gosh, it's going to be $3,000 or $4,000, and you look online and you realize $400. How can that be? Well, the reason being is that, again, this is just my hope, but the reason being that the display would cost $400 was because we would live in a time where Amazon, Hewlett-Packard, Microsoft, Apple, everybody out there is helping to chip in to the development cost of this specialized hardware. And you're thinking, well, wait a moment, I already have enough people that I need. I don't necessarily need an additional employee, or our student program is all full. Hello? Customers, if you have accessible software, iPhone, for instance, what was it? There's all of a sudden I can't remember the name of the game. It's like Word Cyclone or Word Tornado or something like that. But games like that are fully accessible to people who cannot see them. Customers, you have a wonderful game, you have a wonderful piece of productivity software that everybody can use. If you take those profits from your software sales and help to develop enhancements both in capability and especially in price for this hardware, and people see this happening all over the place, if this came to be, then I think that the world would be a much better place for everybody involved. Because it would helping to drive down the cost by doing this, it would also expand awareness of people's abilities. It would it would increase exceptionality, even desire to hire, Joe Blow versus Jane Blow. Jane Blow may be fully sighted, but Joe Blow, even though he's blind, he can do the work, and and Joe Blow has also got the practical experience over Jane Blow, who does not. And I know as an employer that I can accommodate him because my company has worked firsthand to develop the hardware and the software. Do you see what I'm getting? You see what I mean with this role-playing situation here? That if that were to happen, I just think that things would be much, considerably better off. But what do you guys think? Thank you for watching. Comments are welcome, and have a nice day.